Oh, hi everybody. My name is Dr. Eddie Otukoya. Today I want to talk about something very interesting actually. We've had this huge and an impact and demonstrations as a result of the killing of George Floyd in the US. And I wanted to consider some of the impact this has had on all of us. There have been a lot of discussions about this, but most importantly though, about the impact of people demonstrating at a very critical point when we have coronavirus killing a lot of people, especially a lot of black people right across the United States and the United Kingdom. So most people have now been saying, why are a lot of people, especially people of color, being killed as a result of this virus? And then why are people taking the chance to then demonstrate organizations and companies coming up saying we sympathize with you, we understand, we have no chance of this, we support anti-racism? Don't really mean anything. We've gone through this over so many years and people have been very sympathetic, and a lot of people, especially white people, would have no idea on what to do. Of course they sympathize with it, but this kind of thing has been systemic design against getting rid of any act of racism, not because people really want to do it, but because they really are conditioned to doing this. And now in the NHS, these are heroes, and I love NHS and I thank them very much for it. But they publish information about the impact of the coronavirus on their staff, and they love their staff and all of that. But one thing I really want them to focus on as we go through this critical stage of our development is for them to look inwards and find out whether there are things that they could do better. The government is being very helpful by asking organizations to be very transparent and produce information relating to the number of people that they employ. So let's look at some of this and see what happens. So people have been talking about it and say, why are so many people from the ethnic minority groups actually dying as a result of this virus? And I can now assure you there are particularly different reasons. You may not be able to see the screen here, but let me show you part of this. The first thing I want people to look at is this. This is the data produced by the NHS. This group of people in here, these are BAME, these are the ethnic minority groups, and these are white people within that group. I've taken out some of the other groups, unidentified groups and all that. But if you look at it for the medical team, the NHS has got groups of people, the medical and the non-medical. In the medical group, there's 40% of people who work in the medical part of the NHS are from the ethnic minority groups. Okay, and the whites are only are 55, about 56%. So you can imagine though that even though ethnic minority people are 13% of the total population, 40% of them actually work in the medical part of the NHS. So hence, of course, they are more likely to be in the forefront, and I will justify this in a moment and see why that is the case. So these are non-medical NHS staff, so these are the IT support staff and all the other ones who are non-medical. But imagine here, in this group of people, the ethnic minority groups are only 16%. The rest of that happens to be the white people. So can you see what happens here? 40 to 56 here. So the medical, so of course they are in the front line. Now let's now look at the very senior people within the NHS. If you look, these are the people who are actually overall, because only 10% of people in the NHS actually work in the medical field. But imagine here, the group here is all of these people, 83 to 15% in this lower group. Again here, 83 to another 15% in the second group. The middle group, which are in bands 5 to 7, these are the people who earn between 25 and 45,000 pounds. These people, again, a majority of those are white people. That's fine, but as you get closer to this, you can see the most senior people within the NHS. You can see the drop in a number of ethnic minority group. But look at there. So at the very top of the NHS, 93% of those people are white, and the ethnic minority happens to be only 7% of that. So does that make sense? There are a lot of people in the NHS who work in the front line. Most of them, in terms of the proportion of them, 40% of those in the front line happens to be from the ethnic minority groups. So if you imagine then that more of them are likely to die because they are not only there, but they are in the forefront. And I'll try and prove something else here. As you move forward, you can see these are the top grades. These are the top medical grades for the NHS. If you look here, the first you're going to see, if we ignore the others, which are the small numbers, about 7%. But if you come here, actually, in this group, white people in that group happen to be just about 43%. The ethnic minority happens to be about 50% of that group. Okay, as you move closer here, again, there is more of people from the ethnic minority groups in the specialist area, absolutely, and more importantly, the white people happen to be in the minority in these particular categories. The associate specialists, again, more from the ethnic minority groups against their counterparts. But as soon as you move to the consultants level, these are the people, these are the most senior people in there. See, it drops from the nearly 50% here to about 36%. But their colleagues, their counterparts, happens to be 60% of the consultants. So you can see again that not only the ethnic minority groups work in the NHS in large proportions, but when it comes to the very senior roles, though, they are not there. They are right at the back, and therefore they will end up being in the forefront. We have more of them in the forefront, loads of them, much more than the proportion you will expect from the overall number of ethnic minority groups within they form 40% of the NHS. But apart from that, those are the medical ones. They are also at the lower level. So when NHS thinks that they need to help and they need to support, they need to make sure though that their system is in proportion to making sure that these people are being promoted. And if you look at some of the details in here, these people from the ethnic minority groups tend to leave the NHS in larger numbers than their counterparts. And I suppose that must be some kind of frustration leading up to that. I hope you've enjoyed this. I have not done this to create any tension, but to explain to people who are wondering why there is a greater proportion of people from the ethnic minority groups being in the forefront and dying within the NHS. If you like this video, please share it or subscribe to our channel at enterprisedoctors.com. Thank you.